Just one moment. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I invite you now to take a rest posture of your choice, whether that's an easy seated pose or Shavasana, lying on your back on your mat with your arms wide open and your legs open, or perhaps even taking your knees so that they're bent when you're lying down and placing one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly, whatever feels right in this moment. And as we begin to settle into our opening meditation, we can take this opportunity to bring our awareness to our room, the way our body feels grounded on our mat, and allowing ourselves to bring this awareness so that we can let go of any tension we might be holding on to. And as we create this awareness, we can ease into our breath, deeply inhaling and exhaling. And as we continue this deep inhale that expands our belly, ribs, and chest, on our exhale, we allow it to flow out of us, allowing the chest, ribs, and belly to fall back to the floor. Again, sensing that expansive breath, we ease into it. And as we exhale, allow all of that tension that we might be carrying just to pour out of us. As we continue to focus our awareness on our breathing, opening ourselves up to our yoga practice and to each other, we can play with the idea that inside us we have a flame of peace. On our inhale, we ignite that flame of peace. And as we exhale, it doesn't blow out the flame, but instead it makes the flame glow even brighter. Deep within our belly, as we inhale, we see that warm glow. And as we exhale, that glow sends itself all the way down through our hips and through our thighs, continuing all the way through our knees, into our calves, ankles, and feet, and all the way out through the toes. Sending that nourishing breath to that flame. As we exhale, we see it come all the way back up through the legs and into the belly. And again, coming all the way up through our chest, shining out through our shoulders, all the way to the elbows, into the wrists, and out through our fingertips. Again, in that grounding breath, we see this light pouring all the way back up through the arms, into our neck, into our jaw, our cheeks, our eyes, our forehead, and out through the top of the head. As we continue to breathe, we keep this flame alive, nourishing it with our own breath. And this sense of peacefulness in the stillness of our simple rise and fall of our belly, ribs, and chest. And as we take these moments for ourselves, we can embrace this opportunity to find that place of calmness, stillness, and peacefulness, allowing our minds to go inward as we continue to deeply breathe. As we continue to follow this deep breath of peace, we want to always strive to not hold on to this breath, but to let it flow. And reminding ourselves that peace does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, trouble, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of those things and still be calm in our hearts. And as we prepare ourselves for our practice, even in the midst of postures that we may find challenging, let us all be reminded of that deep breath we can always return to ground us back into that place of peace. And as we start to begin our practice, we can bring some awareness back into our body, maybe starting by wiggling the fingers and toes, and maybe taking the head from side to side. And if we're not already lying down, I invite you to make yourself so that you're in Shavasana, so that your heart is open. And when we're ready, let's extend the arms up overhead, lying down, pointing the toes, stretching deeply, inhaling. And exhaling, releasing everything back to the mat. Let's try that again. Inhaling, finding that dynamic tension, reaching. And exhaling, letting it all go. On our final inhale, maybe even a bit dramatically, stretch your deepest breath on this inhale. And sigh, releasing all the way back to the floor. And at this time, I'll turn my video back on, but I invite you to keep your eyes closed and continue to listen to the sound of my voice. We'll keep ourselves so that we're lying on the floor for now. In that same Shavasana pose, we'll start as we did last week, bringing one knee into the chest, squeezing it in, and sending it long on the mat, bringing the other knee in to meet it. And if we can, trying to match our breath with the movement. So inhaling through the squeeze and exhaling, switching up the legs. Again, just introducing some gentle movement, going at our own pace. And again, finding those opportunities just to deepen that stretch a little bit more in a gentle way. And seeing if our breath will allow ourselves the permission just to let go that ever little bit more. And when we're ready, let's bring both knees to the chest And gently rock from side to side, feeling that lovely connection to our mat through our lower back. And now we can bring our feet to the floor with our knees still bent. We'll gently windshield wiper our knees from side to side, feeling that adjustment through the hips, feeling that extension, even all the way through the upper thighs. And when we're ready, we'll try our flowing bridge, which we did last week. So making sure that your heels are pretty close to your bottom, almost that your fingertips can touch them. We'll start by doing a regular bridge, keeping the hands at either side of our hips. We'll gently inhale, bring the belly button up to the sky. And exhale by vertebrae, lower back down all the way to the mat. Feeling that flexibility in the spine, inhaling, reaching up. And exhaling, feeling that wave returning to the floor. We'll now expand it to flowing bridge so we can match the arms, inhaling all the way up. And exhaling, releasing, bringing the palms of the hands back to the floor as we lower down. Again, inhaling, reaching. And seeing if you can find that dance between a place where we're challenging ourselves to reach a little bit higher and doing it from a calm place. Again, keeping that peacefulness as we go. Let's try that one more time, reaching all the way up. Stretching one last little bit at the top. And exhale, come all the way back down. And we'll return to this flowing bridge at the very end to try something with it. So again, let's bring our knees into the chest and the opportunity to rock from side to side. Returning our feet to the floor, we'll take both knees to one end of the mat and bringing our arms so that we can rest our head on it. We'll gently put ourselves in a fetal position. Taking a moment here to take a breath, we'll inhale, bring ourselves up onto all fours. And we'll take just a short moment to roll out our wrists. And just as we did last week, again, we'll try to stack our knees under our hips and our wrists under our shoulders. And we'll do the same thing just to give ourselves a little bit more of release in our forearms and our hands. We'll gently rock from side to side. So taking our hands, we can starfish them nice and wide. And we're going to slowly take our fingertips so that they go to the long end of the mat. And keep turning as we alternate our weight from side to side. And stopping at that point that feels right to us. Maybe our fingertips are facing our knees, or maybe they're at the corners of the mat. Either way, it's all good. So now let's try doing a few little circles around. Going one way with our arms. And then trying the other way, very gently. Doing some circles. And again, let's go back to where we started. Again, rocking from side to side, bringing our hands so that our fingertips are right at facing the top of our mat. And just again, checking in with our alignment and really focusing on our breath. Let's inhale deeply, lifting the crown of the head and the tailbone for cow. And exhaling, reaching up through the belly button, curling the spine into cat. Let's try that again. Inhaling through cow. And exhaling through cat. And we'll continue to do this at our own pace, followed by our own breath, and recognizing the dynamic tension we create through this. And it's actually very much a core exercise, especially when you're coming out through cat. We can feel that extra little pull, pulling the pelvis forward. And it's almost like you're doing a little bit of a C crunch, even in cat and cow. Let's try that again. Maybe even expanding with our Ujjayi breath, which is a breath through the nose. And then having an ocean wave on the exhale. allowing ourselves to really have that connection with an oral sense of our breath. And just for a moment, we'll take our hands a little bit further in front of us. We're gonna come down into child's pose just for a moment here. And just know that anytime throughout our practice, we can always come back to this posture when we need rest, or maybe if we're even feeling a little bit of emotion come up. This is always a safe place where we can come up a little bit higher, stacking our fists and coming up a little bit higher on the knees. And when we're ready, we'll come back into that tabletop position. And last week we did some balance exercises. So we'll try that again, and we're going to add on to it. So extending one arm and the opposite leg as we inhale, we exhale, bring everything back to the mat. Let's try that again. Inhaling, reaching, exhaling, returning back. Let's try that again. And this time we can bring our elbow to the knee, reach out again, and return everything back to the floor. Again, inhaling and exhaling. And we can stay here, or we can try another pose that's similar. It's called Sunbird, and it's almost like you're kicking the air. So we take the leg up, reaching, and send it back, alternating legs. And if we're really up for it, we can even try extending our arm as we kick up into the sky. Again, always inhaling as we reach up, exhale, returning to the floor. And at this point, you probably are starting to feel some heat, maybe even some sensation in our glutes. Let's try one more. And again, let's come back down and find our child's pose. Just taking a moment here, checking in with our body, feeling that lower release in our lower back, which probably feels different from when we started. And just taking a moment with our forehead on the floor to rock our head back and forth, just calming down our nervous system. And when we're ready, we're going to come back into that tabletop position, inhaling up and exhaling. We're going to flow all the way down to the mat. Inhaling through a little baby cobra, a great exercise for our back and our core. We're going to inhale back up, pushing our weight into our hands and pressing all the way back into child's pose on our exhale. Let's try that again. Inhaling, coming forward. Exhale, coming to the floor. Inhaling through baby cobra, looking up. And again, exhaling, pushing back all the way to the floor. Let's try one more time. Again, inhaling, coming forward. Exhaling down to the mat. Inhaling through cobra. And exhaling, coming all the way back to the floor. Wonderful. Taking another moment here just to feel that sensation coming through our body. We will prepare ourselves for our first downward facing dog. So looking forward, coming up onto all fours again, maybe extending the hands a little bit further in front of you with our starfish fingers. We'll gently take our toes and begin to press into the balls of our feet, sending back the heels and lifting our knees off the ground into our first downward facing dog. And here we can start to pedal at our feet, just giving ourselves a nice calf release. Maybe we do both at the same time. And again, if this isn't necessarily a happy pose for you, we can always just do a modified chair with our hands here, and maybe just explore opening our lower and upper back. And if we're here in downward facing dog, again, just taking a moment to notice what's happening in our body. This is a very challenging pose, but there's an opportunity for us to find some peace in it. Maybe focusing on our alignment, extending that tailbone long, feeling ourselves pressing into our hands and into our feet. And when we're ready, again, we can either walk our hands to our feet or our feet to our hands. This week, I'm going to walk my feet to my hands. And we'll take a moment here just to allow ourselves to deepen that forward fold. An important thing here too is there's no contest about having your knees bent. You can keep them straight, bent, feeling your belly into your thighs even. And the most important thing is feeling the hinge at the hips. We often think we have to do something, but if we really hinge from the hips, this is where we can really find that deep forward fold. Taking one last moment when we're ready, we're gonna deeply inhale, bend the knees, swoop the arms up overhead, and exhaling, bringing the hands to heart center. Wonderful. So we'll move into some sunflowers and moonflowers as we did last week. And we'll also go into some flowing chair pose. So we'll try this again by pointing our toes to the corners of the mat, reaching up like a star. On our inhale through the top, we exhale, bend the knees, bend the legs, and extend back up. Inhaling up, exhaling as we come down. It's almost like we're this beautiful machine that's flowing air in and out as we come up and down. And again, if you're like me, my knees crack every single time I do this. So don't be afraid to modify the movement, maybe just do the arms or just do the legs. And let's switch into moonflowers, swooping the arms up and down. Or maybe just shortening the lever, bringing the knees a little bit so that they're not so deeply into the stretch. Excellent. And let's bring the hands to heart center. And now we'll try a flowing chair. I'll demonstrate it to the side just so that you can have a sense of what it should look like. So bringing the hands up, we inhale, reaching, and swoop the arms all the way up, bringing the hands to heart center. Again, reaching, swooping, coming into that chair, and exhaling, bringing the hands up back to the heart center. Inhaling, reaching, exhaling, bringing back up. By now, we should start to feel some heat created in our body. Whoops, I did something fancy there. There's no wrong way to do it. As long as you're coming into a chair, coming up and back down. Beautiful. All right, we'll move into our sun salutations. So again, I'll demonstrate two different ways. And again, if you have your favorite, please just go ahead and do that at any time. So coming to the top of our mat, we ground ourselves first in mountain pose, maybe just shutting the eyes for a moment, making sure we take the shoulders and maybe dramatically bring them up, back, and down so that we have that really open chest. And when we're ready, let's bring our hands to heart center in our own time. Deeply inhaling, reaching the arms up. We exhale, swoop the arms down, folding forward. Inhaling, looking up halfway. We bring our right knee to the mat and our left knee to meet it. And now we extend all the way down into child's pose. On our next inhale, just as we did before, we come up into that tabletop position, into cobra, inhaling through cobra, and exhaling, pushing all the way back into child's pose. On our next inhale, looking forward, we bring that foot in between the hands and bring the left foot to meet it. Inhaling, looking up halfway, we exhale, return back to the mat. On our next inhale, bend the knees, swoop the arms, reach all the way up. We exhale, bring the hands to heart center. Excellent, let's try that on the other side. Again, bending the knees deeply, inhaling, reaching, exhaling, surrendering into that forward fold. Inhaling, looking up halfway. This time we bring the other knee to the mat and bring the other knee to meet it, extending all the way back into child's pose. On our next inhale, let's come up into that tabletop position, bringing our bellies to the floor on our exhale. Inhaling through that cobra, feeling that tension through that stretch, and exhaling, pushing all the way back into child's pose. On our next inhale, looking forward in between the hands, coming up on one knee, let's bring that other foot in between the hands and bring the other foot to meet it. Inhale, look up halfway with a flat back. We exhale, return to the mat. Again, inhaling, we rise together. And exhale, bring the hands to heart center. Let's do one more round. Again, we can repeat that, or we can try this version. Again, keeping the heat, deeply inhaling, reaching up. We exhale, float to the floor. Inhaling, we look up halfway. On our exhale, let's bring the right foot back and our left foot to meet it. Inhaling through plank, we exhale, lower down, coming into upward dog on the toes or on the mat with our bellies. And exhale, bringing ourselves all the way into downward facing dog. Coming forward on our toes, looking in between the hands, bending the knees. Let's bring that right foot in between the hands and bring the left foot to meet it. Inhaling, we look up halfway. Exhale, surrender back to the mat. One more time, again, inhaling, reaching all the way up, expanding the chest. We exhale, bring the hands to heart center. Let's try that one more time on the other side. Excellent. Inhaling, bending the knees, reaching up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhaling, looking up halfway with a flat back. We exhale into plank, bringing the left foot back and the right foot to meet it. Inhaling through the top. We exhale as we lower down to the mat. Inhaling through upward facing dog. We exhale through downward facing dog. Taking a moment here, looking in between the hands, bending the knees, up on the toes. We bring our left foot to the front and our right foot to meet it. Inhaling, looking up halfway. We exhale, return to the mat. Our deepest stretch yet. Inhaling our deepest breath. We exhale, bring the hands to heart center. Beautiful. Let's take a moment here. We can maybe take our feet a little bit wider, float the eyes closed for a moment, check in with our shoulders, bringing them up, back, and down, and feel the pulse generating through our body, even through our fingertips, with our hands to our heart. Taking one more moment here. We'll gently float the eyes open. And let's take a moment just to give ourselves a little bit more expansiveness into our bodies. So taking our arms behind us, we're going to reach so that we either interlace the arms together or the hands together so that we open our chest. Or if we can't quite get there, we can always take the back of our shirt just to feel that opening in our chest. Again, option to keep the eyes open or closed as we do this. On our next inhale, let's extend the arms open, almost feeling like our fingertips can reach either side of the room. And we'll gently bring ourselves into a giant hug, taking both hands onto each shoulder and tucking the chin into the chest. Taking a nice rooting and grounding breath here. And opening wide again, let's reach those arms so that our fingertips come to either side of the room. And let's bring our hands behind us again, this time seeing if you can put the opposite thumb on top to feel the difference. It's also an exercise for our minds. We tend to have one way of clasping our hands. Again, shining that heart open, checking in with any tension we may be having in our face. Just feel like we're really rooting through our feet on the mat. And again, let's take those arms wide and give ourselves one more stretch again, seeing if we can explore putting the other arm on top this time as we gently embrace ourselves, tucking our chin into our chest. Excellent. And when we're ready, we're going to bring ourselves back to that breath just to keep that heat going. We're going to try bringing our hands to heart center, We're gonna inhale, or we're gonna exhale. So first we're gonna inhale and exhale, interlacing the hands. We're gonna gently push down, almost as if we're imagining we're pushing our breath out. And then on our inhale, we reach up. And at the top, we find that exhale in that prayer position, interlacing the hands and pushing all of that air out. So I will demonstrate it instead of instructing. So again, so inhaling, keeping the palms away from you, bringing it all the way to the top in that prayer position. Exhaling, bringing ourselves down our center line. Let's try that one more time again. Inhaling, reaching all the way up. And exhaling, flowing that air all the way back down. This is a great thing we can do at any time, whether it's during our regular day or in the middle of our yoga practice on our own. Taking ourselves back to the top of the mat, we're gonna get ourselves a little bit closer to the floor again. So inhaling, reaching the arms up. We'll exhale, fold forward. Once again, we'll inhale, looking up halfway, and exhale, bring our knees to the mat. And we'll just take a moment to find our child's pose again. On our next inhale, we can stay in child's pose to get to our next pose, or we can go into our downward facing dog. So I'll show the version through downward facing dog. So taking ourselves into downward facing dog, we'll take a moment here and we'll gently look forward, coming up on the toes, and place our right foot in between the hands. Let's take a moment here to find our balance. We can absolutely drop the knee, making sure that our shoelace side goes to the mat. This would be a kneeling crescent pose. Or if we want to try, we can come up onto the ball of our back foot and making sure that we're grounding through that front leg. We'll come into crescent lunge. So this is a little bit of an expansion from what we did last week. And you can even come in and out of it depending on your knee flexibility. So coming down, lowering, and then maybe again, coming a little bit forward and extending back up. And this is not something that happens overnight. So just be gentle with yourself. Even if you have some furniture maybe to steady yourself, that's also a good practice. And we can even bring our feet a little bit closer together if that helps. As now we can probably feel a lot of burning through that leg. Let's swoop the arms up and exhale, bring ourselves into child's pose, or we can continue into downward facing dog. Both are excellent options. When we're ready, we'll try that on the other side. Again, inhaling, looking forward, bringing that other foot in between the hands. Again, option to keep ourselves into that kneeling crescent lunge, or to come up a little bit on the toes and come into that kneeling crescent lunge with our knee off the ground. Again, trying to keep our hips square, feeling most of the heat in our body in that front leg, but really extending and feeling that glute activation in the back leg. And we can keep the hands here, maybe even in a cactus pose that opens up our chest, or our arms up overhead. Taking just one more moment here. Let's swoop the arms down, bring ourselves to the mat. And this time, let's all go into child's pose. So coming down, lowering our knees, we'll come all the way back down to the mat. Beautiful. And we're going to try this one more time. And again, we can try it with our kneeling version or with our knee up off the ground, whatever feels right for today, not what it was yesterday or it might be tomorrow, but what it is today. All right, coming forward again on our next inhale. Again, I'll show a kneeling version first. We can bring that front foot in front of us and come up into that kneeling crescent lunge. And this time we're going to spiral into a twisting kneeling crescent lunge. So bringing the opposite arm up and extending, so we're spiraling so that we try to create one long line with our hands. And we can do this in both versions. Feeling that peacefulness, even in the midst of having our body work a little bit more, extending through the fingertips. Let's bring both hands to the mat. And again, option to come into child's pose or to step back into downward facing dog. Taking a moment here to ground ourselves. We know what's coming again. We'll do our crescent lunge one more time on the other side. And when we're ready again, kneeling or otherwise, we'll look forward, bring the other foot in front and find ourselves grounded into that crescent lunge. Start by making sure we're rooted all the way through our feet. And when we're ready, let's open up, bringing one hand to the floor and opening up into that twisting crescent lunge. Excellent. Just focusing on our breath. And even if we like, we can bring that arm behind ourselves. So instead of extending it up, we can just gently curl it. And the most important thing is trying to expand the chest, almost as if you're looking over your shoulder. And now let's unwind, bring both hands back to the mat. And again, we can come all the way back down into child's pose. Excellent, everyone. Taking a moment to feel that heat we've created in our legs. Allowing our breath to keep us in the present moment. Gently reminding us of our flow. Finding that calmness in the face. And when we're ready, once again, we'll gently come up into that tabletop position. And again, we'll try to find that downward facing dog. We're going to introduce one of our warrior poses. So coming up into downward facing dog, again, peeling our feet so that our heels come back. We'll try a little bit of something. You can either gently place your right foot in between the hands, or we can even try reaching that leg up and cycling it in so that it comes in between the hands as we come up into our warrior one position. And warrior one is a little bit different from our crescent lunge because our heel is on the floor and at about a 35-degree angle. So we can come up into this warrior one position, again with hands to the heart, maybe cactus arms or arms up into a powerful pose. Again, finding that balance, negotiating the balance between our front leg and our back leg, keeping our shoulders down and back away from our ears. Excellent. And when we're ready, let's inhale deeply and exhale, bring our hands back to the floor. And here we can go back into child's pose or come into that downward facing dog position again. Taking a moment to pause. And when we're ready, we'll all meet in downward facing dog again. And again, we can either place the other leg in between the hands, or we can try extending that leg long and then bending the knee, bringing the foot in between your hands, grounding the back foot as we come into warrior one on the other side. Again, finding this place that feels powerful and grounded and rooted in our breath. And anytime we need a rest, just bring our arms down and return to the breath. And if we really want to try to challenge our balance, we can even try closing the eyes. And when we're ready, let's deeply inhale, bring the arms up, and exhale, come forward, placing the hands on the mat. And let's bring both knees down, and let's all find ourselves back into child's pose. Taking a few moments here, feeling our belly breathe into our thighs, feeling that extension of our whole body connected to our breath. And when we're ready, we'll gently come forward onto our bellies. And just like we did last time, we'll bring one cheek to the mat. I hope this doesn't muffle my microphone. And now that we're on our bellies, we'll just gently rock our tailbone from side to side. Again, almost as if we're wiggling our tail. And creating some dynamic and core tension, we're gonna gently allow the tension we create from our back and our abs, and even in between the shoulders, to bring ourselves up from the mat into locust, extending long through the fingertips and the toes, as if we're a superhero, reaching, breathing as we do this. And finally, exhaling, releasing everything back to the mat. And again, maybe switching up so that you put your other cheek on the mat. And again, wiggle your tail, just allowing yourself to find that release. Let's try that one more time. Again, extending, feeling our whole core activated. All of the muscles are working here to allow ourselves to peel us off the floor. And as if we're soaring, we reach up that little extra millimeter higher, and exhale, return all the way back to the mat. And again, take this opportunity to rock from side to side. And when we're ready, we're gently gonna bring ourselves, so we put some weight into our hands and push ourselves up into all fours, and gently take our weight onto our bottom so that we're on our mat and our feet are long and our legs extended. And so I like to call this the flash dance pose, and you'll see why in a second. So we'll gently take our hands so that our fingertips are facing our bottom, and just gently, we can even just go here to feel the tension in our core that we get just from supporting our own weight and shining that heart forward. We can feel that activation in our abs as we sit tall. And if we want to activate a little bit more, I invite you to really ground your heels into the mat, put some more weight into your hands, and float our hips up to the sky, reaching with our belly button. This is a tough one. So just take a few breaths here if you can, and release all the way back down. Let's take a moment there, maybe roll out your wrists for a second. We're going to try it one more time now that you've done it. And again, we can channel our inner flash dance moment. So again, on our next inhale, let's create that tension that allows us to lift ourselves up. Again, seeing if we can find that calm place as we feel this activation. We can, again, even do this if we're on the ground. And when we're ready, let's gently release all the way to the floor. And just to give ourselves a nice counter stretch, let's bring our knees into the chest and try sitting up nice and tall, squeezing our knees. And now even allowing ourselves to curve the spine so we bring our knees into the chest. Beautiful. And as I said at the beginning, we're going to turn to that flowing bridge that we had at the beginning. So again, finding ourselves so that we're lying down on the mat with our feet to the floor and our legs bent. We'll find our flowing bridge, but this time we're also going to match it with a box breath. So starting from the bottom, we're going to breathe in for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pausing at the top for 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll exhale. 3, 2, 1. And pause. 3, 2, 1. We'll try that again. Inhaling. 2, 3, 4. Pausing through the top. 2, 3, 4. And extending back down. 3, 2, 1. And pausing. 3, 2, 1. And now I invite you to do this in your own time. Feel how the breath energizes the movement. And the expansion that deepens as we pause. And that incredible release when we exhale, return all the way to the floor. Enjoying the beautiful inevitability of our inhale and exhale. From here, we'll take this moment again. Let's bring our knees into the chest and rock from side to side. Feeling how our body has changed throughout the practice. And when we're ready, let's send those feet to the floor. And as we begin to wind down, we'll take one ankle over the other knee and gently press the other knee away, allowing ourselves to feel that wonderful glute stretch. And again, the opportunity to close our eyes as we are able to, maybe just concentrating on my voice, or maybe just taking these moments to focus on our breath. And on our next inhale, let's reach the hands in between the knee and extend so that we come into that figure 4 position, allowing that foot to come off the floor. Really feeling that deep stretch. And when we're ready, let's bring that foot down to the mat, and keeping the legs crossed, we'll gently allow the weight of our legs to take us over to that side and open up on the other side with our arm extended, and allow ourselves to take this moment to breathe into the stretch. Maybe allowing each breath to be permission to sink a little bit more deeply into the spinal twist. And once again, when we're ready, let's bring both knees back to center and placing both feet on the floor. Let's gently windshield wiper our knees back and forth. And once again, when we're ready, this time, let's bring our left leg up or the opposite leg and match it with the other knee attached to that ankle. And again, gently press away with our hand, opening up that hip and glute stretch a little bit more. And as we are able to, reaching in between the legs and bringing that knee a little bit closer to our chest, we extend into that figure 4 position. Again, just doing a quick body scan, seeing if we can release our shoulders a little bit more, relax our jaw, and really focus our energy into breathing into this stretch. And once again, we'll return that foot to the floor, keeping our knees so that they're bent and crossed. We'll do the same thing on the other side, letting gravity take us over and extending the arm long. Again, taking this opportunity to explore the depth of our breath, or maybe even the audibility of our breath. That gentle reminder of our own flow, even when we don't feel like we're flowing at all. And once again, we'll return back to center, gently placing both feet back onto the mat. And again, extending long, opening up the legs and the arms, or maybe coming into that constructive rest posture with one hand on the belly and one hand on the chest. And at this point, I encourage you to close your eyes and take these breaths for yourself. Maybe even layer up with some cozy things around you as we prepare ourselves for our final meditation. And as we settle into the mat, feeling the full weight of our back body grounded. And the only movement is the suppleness of our breath and that flame of peace. Again, finding that inner flame as we deeply inhale and exhale. We feel not only the expansiveness of our breath, but the expansiveness of our mind, body, and spirit as it glows within us, circulating all throughout our body, within us, and all around us. Allowing ourselves permission to take these moments to truly be in our bodies and be with each other with the flow and gentleness of our inhale and exhale. as we continue to surrender ourselves to this calm and still place, continuing to breathe. I'd like to share Go in Peace, Live Simply by Mark L. Bellatini. May we go in peace. May we live simply at home in ourselves. May we be just in our world, just in our deed. May we remember the depth of our own compassion. May we not forget our power in the days of our powerlessness. May we take care of our bodies, be good to them. They are a good gift. May we crave peace for all peoples in this world, beginning with ourselves, and go as we go with the dream of that peace set firm in our hearts. And may we continue to breathe in the flame of peace and let it ignite our hearts to be a light for others. And as we take these last few moments together, we'll once again bring our awareness back to our surroundings. Again, wiggling the toes and the fingertips, maybe gently taking the head from side to side. And we'll return again to that long stretch, gently taking the arms up overhead, extending the fingertips and the toes, inhaling and exhaling. Again, we'll take ourselves into that deep stretch with our inhale and exhale, let it all go. On our last time, again, feeling that radiant energy throughout our whole body as we inhale, and together, all of us, exhale. Lying down, we can gently take our knees so that they're bent with our feet on the mat, and allow ourselves to take both knees to one side of our mat, taking one arm up overhead into that fetal position. We can begin to put some weight into those hands and bring ourselves up till we find that easy seated position with our legs crossed. Taking this moment to bring our shoulders up, back, and down. We can lay our hands open onto our knees. Breathing one last time together. And may the light in me honor the light in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to take this moment to stop the recording.